Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. You know, there are a lot of people struggling with probate right now in Florida. In this episode, I've brought in an expert, Al Nicoletti, to teach us how to avoid probate in Florida. All right, guys, we've got so many things to share with you today on avoiding probate in Florida. One is talking about special magic language. Al's gonna break that down. Another way we can avoid probate with one simple mechanism. And then finally, we're also gonna talk about a really cool deed called the Ladybird deed. So let's go. Al, how are you today?
Brent, thank you so much for having me on these videos. I can't wait to dive in. I'm doing great. Got to be here in person with you. It's the second time we got to really sit down and talk about this stuff. So I'm ready to dive in on all things Florida probate and land and anything we get into.
I love it. You're helping one of my Land Shark students right now. I know you've helped other clients. So Al is the #1 probate attorney in Florida. I wish he would expand to all the United States. Maybe that's a later conversation. But you know, at the end of the day, the video is obviously about how to avoid probate in Florida. But you know, I guess what are some of the steps that people could take? Let's just say we're buying a house right now, and me and my wife, we're buying a house. I'm 36 years old. I have 3 children. How could someone like me avoid probate in Florida?
So avoiding probate, there's a couple things that you're looking for. It really all starts with the magic language. Magic language on deeds. Whenever we get into probate, you're thinking, what's the title look like? And a lot of people miss that, Brent. Like, they'll skip over that part about what's on the title. I was just teaching a couple classes this past weekend, and it seemed to be a hot topic item about deeds. So first, checking the deeds, right? What's on the deed? How are people titled on it? A lot of people are amazed that, you know, if a husband's on a deed and the wife is not on the deed, even though they've been married for 50 years, he dies, she still has to go through probate. So all about the deeds and who's on it. So the ways you avoid it, we'll start with the first one. Okay. Husband and wife, right? So you have husband and wife that are on title to property together, and it says as wife or as husband or as tenancy by the entirety. And then the husband dies, and let's say, Brent, you approach the wife and say, hey, you know, found your property through the list or found your property in the records. I'd like to buy it. You know, do you want to go under contract? You're thinking to yourself, well, wait a second. I checked the deed. I see the wife. I know the husband passed. We have the right person here, so we have the potential to avoid probate because all we need is the wife.
Okay.
And at title, you're just getting that death certificate recorded. Title company records the death certificate, title moves over. So husband and wife is the first thing that you're looking for of avoiding probate. People miss that. Right back in 2008, what happened? The wife would get on the deed, the husband gets on the loan, and you have those scenarios, right? The second way, magic language. The joint tenants with rights of survivorship. Right? What we call that is survival of the fittest. Whoever lives the longest gets title to the property. So what's one of the scenarios we come across with joint tenants with rights of survivorship? We have 5 people on title to the property, right? What happens? And it has magic language. See, that's the reoccurring theme as joint tenants with rights of survivorship. One dies, then the other dies, and then the other 2 die, and there's one standing.
Yeah.
Well, with that language, what the title company is going to go do is they're going to record the death certificate for each of these people.
Got you. Let's just say that 5 people example. I come across this all the time where there's 5 people on a parcel of land. And I'm only talking to, you know, Jimbo Smith, and he says, yeah, all my brothers and sisters have passed away. If he has that magic language of rights of survivorship, as long as we had the death certificate of the 4 siblings,
right,
and we record them. Now, do these have to be the original death certificates?
So title insurance is going to want the original death certificates, and that plays a big role for the audience as well, is knowing a lot of these little things add up for the big picture and what title needs, because you and I both know how important title companies play a role. So having those originals get recorded are huge. But here's the thing. Imagine that situation of you got that guy, you got that one guy, but there's no magic language.
Okay.
And 4 of them died. Now what are you looking at? You're looking at 4 probates.
Oh.
That's the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So the magic language really helps really narrow that down and parse down what is needed in that deal.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that's when, what would we do then if we have 4 probates? Like, let's talk about you and how what you do to help me, because I've literally had land deals or even house deals where I had to send. I once had to send a probate attorney into a prison to go through probate, and luckily it was just one probate.
Right.
But like, okay, what's the next steps? If I've got this parcel of land, I can make $150,000 on it. I'm getting it for a great discount from Jimbo, but the magic language is not in there.
So one of the first things that you're thinking is, where's the family? Like, what's the big picture? Who are you looking for? So in those 4 probates, what you're always starting to look for, and this is really helpful for the audience because it really helps to look for who's next in line. You're always asking, Florida, is there an original will?
Original will.
Always ask, is there an original will? Why? Because the original will is going to tell you where the property may be going. Maybe it's specific as where the real estate is headed, or maybe it's going back into a trust. You know, sometimes there's things called pour over wills where it's going into a trust. And then you're asking, well, if it's going into a trust, where's the trust? And it's those little things that you're asking about, right? Also, the family line. Let's just say no will, right? No will. You ask the question, no original will. Always starting at the spouse, because in Florida, spouses come first, right?
Okay.
So start at the spouse. Then after no spouse, you said nothing, right? So we'll talk about divorce and separated. Maybe we'll get to that difference, because that's a big distinction.
Yeah.
People will hear, hey, we've been separated for 2 years. That doesn't mean divorced.
Yeah.
Right?
I can imagine that would make things a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, it can, because you're thinking, oh, they've been separated. Let me bypass and go to the kids, right? Can't. That doesn't happen.
Okay.
So then you're looking for children.
All right.
Right? So you always go to the children after that, any grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And if none of those, you're looking up to the parents,
Okay.
grandparents. So I have one right now where it's 2 parents, mom and dad, but they were divorced. So you still need them in the transaction. You need to get them involved. And there's a whole line of succession. We can go down the whole thing about what to look for. But why is that all important, right? Like, it's great to know the probate knowledge and where to go. It matters for your real estate contract, because that is who you're going to want. You need all of these heirs on that real estate contract, because when you go to close and the probate's done, title company's going to want deeds from all of these heirs. That's how you get the deal done.
I love that. So, okay, we talked about, kind of like how you fix that, or almost like just resolve it. Is there anything we can do as far as preventative medicine besides the magic language? Do you actually work with people and realtors? Because a lot of people just rely on their realtors to put in the magic words on their purchase agreements, or themselves if they're using purchase agreements. Do you ever consult with people ahead of time, like to walk them through the magic language when they're purchasing, their home? Because I'm now thinking back, I purchased properties all in multiple states, and I'm not sure I've used the magic language.
So it's interesting. I don't get into the estate plan, but I see everything that happened after. So like I see all the aftermath, right?
Okay.
So then I'm
after the wreck has happened.
Right, exactly. After the wreck, and now the heirs, that's a popular thing, right? All of a sudden probate happens, and then the heirs are going through probate. Then they realize, hey, well, we don't want to go through this ourselves, right? We don't want to have that issue. Right, so the other 2 things that I've seen are the life estate deeds and the ladybird deeds. Why does that play a role?
What's a ladybird deed? I'm learning something new today. I've never ever heard that.
Yeah, okay, so a ladybird deed is like a life estate deed where somebody's retitling the property from them as in their name to them for their life. So they only own it for their life, and upon their death, they're picking people in their deed of where it's going, called remainderment. They own it for their life, they're called the life tenant, and then they're picking other people called the remainderment. Upon their death, with the recording of a death certificate, the title will move to the remainderment. So Brent, you come across a deal, you see that it's in a life estate deed or a ladybird deed, and you know on the property appraiser or on the deed, you know that the life tenant died. In that case, you're thinking, well, wait a second, we need the remainderment, right? So that avoids probate, and if they're all alive,
wow.
Yeah. Ladybird deed, though, is you can revoke it while you're alive. So if the person retitles the property as for their life, the ladybird deed, they can revoke it while they're still alive and change it later and keep the profits.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm learning. I've never heard of a ladybird deed until today. So thank you for that. So I guess, what else have I missed? Like any other ways to avoid probate in Florida? It's amazing. You're going to hopefully help avoid some crashes here.
Yeah.
But there's still so many of them. I run across so many.
Yeah.
But I guess, go ahead. You had a thought there.
Trusts.
Trusts.
It's a big thing, right?
Okay.
So how many of us have seen where you pick up a lead that's in land or a single family home and the property's titled in a trust? Trusts avoid probate. And
it.
that's key. But the one thing a lot of people miss, and we'll go through this scenario, is let's just say the family, the mom owns the property. She wants to avoid probate, and the property is in her name. She goes to a lawyer, she executes a trust, and then 2 weeks later she dies. What's the missing link in that whole scenario? She never deeded the property out from her name into the trust.
Oh.
And when you have those scenarios, you got to go through probate because it's still in their name.
And then would the probate put that into the trust? Is that the process?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So there's two ways there's two different scenarios, right? Let's just say they never deeded it into the trust, but there's no will. So it's going to the direct heirs of whoever there is. But sometimes the mom, the family, they'll create a will that's a pour-over will, where they'll say, hey, we didn't contemplate not putting this asset in a trust. Here's the will just in case, and it's going into the trust.
Okay, I love it. So trust is one of the number one ways to avoid probate, and that's another situation. I'm actually having to talk to a trust attorney right now because we've got almost 400 and something land deals and then all these rental properties. So now I'm starting to think about, oh gosh, what if I were to not be here tomorrow? I've got a wife and 3 kids to worry about. Do you work with people on trust, or do you just refer that out, or how does that work?
So I jump in on the deals where, like, let's say you come across that piece of property and it's titled in a trust. But all of a sudden, who do you need for your real estate contract? In a trust, you're looking for the trustee. But how many times has somebody done a real estate or a trust and they don't name another trustee, which is the person you need for your contract?
When I think of trust, I feel like that's more for privacy. Like, they don't want you knowing who owns it.
Right. And then you're thinking, okay, there's land trust, there's revocable trust, different kinds
irrevocable trust.
Irrevocable trust, person already died and now like the property's still in a trust. You just have so many different scenarios that come up. But where I come up in my side of things is fixing that when somebody finds that deal and all the beneficiaries are alive, all the kids are alive, but it doesn't name somebody of authority to sign your contract. Why? Because even though there's no trustee, they still have to have somebody to sign the closing documents at title.
I see. Guys, if you're getting like any great information, or you know someone that needs to hear about this, share this episode with me and Al. Benefit someone. You might know someone right now that's going through hell because they might have lost one of their parents, or they just need to hear this. Al is the guy that's going to help them out. Definitely share this episode, and we're going to keep going. So, all right. Say I'm actually going through this personally. How can people reach out to you? How can people get in touch with you to see, like, Al, can you help me with this?
Best way anybody can get a hold of me is my phone number, 904-999-0053, leaving a voicemail or a text. Or you can email me, al@alnicoletti.com, which is www.alnicoletti.com. Also, find a lot of the content that's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all those social media channels that are amazing where you can find all the videos. And you have to check out Brent's channel because it's awesome.
Al is everywhere. I actually got to interview him one time for the Wholesaling podcast. He just flew out to Arizona where Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, interviewed him as well. So guys, Al is helping people, and if I can help you avoid probate in Florida and stop this, I've actually learned a lot of tips today to help myself avoid it for later on down the road. Most of us don't think about 70 years later, or even 30 years later, or maybe tomorrow. We're thinking about the deal, but it's the magic language, the deeds. Any final parting words of wisdom from the number one probate attorney in Florida?
Thank you, Brent. I'm honored. I really appreciate that. You know, the thing is, when you come across these deals, the one thing you want to do is ask questions. You may not know everything, and you don't have to know everything. That's why you got amazing people like Brent in the game that understands that there's a big picture to this, right? When you've been doing all these deals, there's a big picture. Ask as many questions as you can, but then it's time to get with the specialists that understand this stuff. So if there's one big takeaway, find the specialists and build your team today to help you succeed tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for driving all this way to do this video.
I loved it.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
No, thank you. I loved it.
And if you haven't smashed that subscribe button, do it now, and love to see you on the next video.